The womb of night envelops the world with darkness, vast and black. But night is turned into day, for the Lord Shiva is to wed Parvati, perfect in her loveliness. The streets are ankle-deep in flowers, the windows are filled with faces. The gods are here, the people too. Centuries have passed, but each year, at the appointed hour, the immortal lovers are joined in holy matrimony. Shiva and Parvati, Sundareshwar and Meenakshi are with us again, in a city that is dedicated to them, ancient Madurai. The kings and queens of the Nayak dynasty ruled Madurai from the 16th to the 18th century, during the most creative period of her 2,500-year-old history. The greatest of them was Thirumal Nayak. This was his palace, designed almost as if to remind us of the monarch who held court here. The pillars are 6 feet wide and 40 feet high, powerful fingers holding aloft the graceful roofed arcade. The cloisters lie behind. The visitor treads softly, as if still in awe of the king who lived beyond. To build as none else could, to live surrounded by beauty, that was the ambition of Thirumal Nayak and his architects. And for their reigning deity, the goddess Meenakshi, they built the Mariamman Tepakolam, one of the largest tanks in South India, paved with stone. To her, over the centuries, merchant and king, peasant and worker, raised a temple whose massive gopurams are the city's soul, her skyline of effort and achievement. Countless are the figures covering the gopurams, the sacred structures on which the Nayak artists poured their love and devotion. Not content with sculpting, they also gave voice to stone. The Meenakshi temple draws all who journey to Madurai. Here at the Ashtalakshmi Mandapam, the goddess Lakshmi bestows her blessings of good fortune and abundance. Soon the golden lily tank with its pillared cloisters is reached. and on the frescoed walls, the miracles of Lord Shiva, as told in the famous Tamil epic Tiruvalayadal Puranam, are once again enacted. The western cloister leads to what is probably the most beautiful hall in the whole temple, the Kilikattu Mandapam, named after the parrot, a bird made sacred by the love of the goddess Meenakshi. Here, hewn out of solid granite, are pillared portraits, the 5 Pandava brothers, Yudhishthira, Arjuna, Bhima, Nakula, Sahadeva, and their wife Draupadi. The devotee can now enter the inner precincts, guarded by 2 Dwarapalakas or gatekeepers. There resides Meenakshi. Nearby lies the unfinished Raya Gopuram. Had Thirumal Nayak completed the building of this structure, it would have been the largest in South India. From here, the Pudu Mandapam can be seen, a spacious hall graced by life-size figures of 10 Nayak kings and their queens. Silent now, and yet not so long ago, their commands were shaping an era. The sculptured columns of the Mandapam recount many a popular legend. Shiva in the Urdhva Tandava pose, a dance he performed in a contest with Kali. Another recalls how Shiva's miraculous powers brought a stone elephant to life. Transformed, it takes the sugarcane from the hands of the king and his jewels too. Who then dare doubt the powers of Shiva? Shiva and Uma in a composite form, symbolic of the fusion of male and female energy. Now to the 1,000-pillared hall.
Vayane manattane manattul nilra karuttane karuttarindu mudippan thanne.
The sculpture bursts forth from monolithic pillars, bold in execution, free from convention and restraint. As the eye passes over these creations, it comes to rest on the fair-limbed Rati, embodiment of love and desire, seated astride her swan. Vishnu as Mohini, surpassing the beauty of all women. He took this seductive guise to humble the saintly rishis who thought they were above temptation. The themes of the master craftsmen of Madurai were pregnant with meaning. The image was not merely intended for the enjoyment of the beholder. It was the resting place of a god or goddess. It could not be faulty. To use the words of an old text, the divinity draws near willingly if images are beautiful. Shiva, as the violent Virabhadra, avenges Daksha's insult to Parvati. The stone is in tumult, like Shiva's spirit. The moving story of the hunter Kanappa is also captured. To replace the bleeding eye of the Shiva Linga, the devotee Kanappa tears out his own. For social comment, there is the depiction of the coming dark age, Kali Yuga, when man will be subservient to woman. There are figures too which depict the ordinary people and recall the customs and manners prevailing at the time when Madurai was the flourishing capital of the Nayaks. But it is at the shrine of Sundareshwar, the beautiful god, that the living philosophy of Shiva breaks through the stone, reaching out to us. Whether as Dakshinamurti, a teacher of yoga, music and other sciences, or in his marriage to Parvati. And the story of the celestial couple continues its journey over the stone. The gigantic Ravana attempts to lift Mount Kailas, the abode of Shiva and Parvati. Parvati, alarmed, is comforted by Shiva, who presses the mountain back with his toe. Then did Ravana do penance. Another favorite legend is that of Markandeya, destined to die at the age of 16. While he worshipped, Yama, the god of death, cast his noose. It fell round the Shiva Linga. In rage, the god emerged and destroyed the dreaded Yama. Then did Shiva give Markandeya the blessing of lasting youth. And as the Nataraja, Shiva manifests himself in the cosmic dance of all creation. Shiva is supreme everywhere. Even Vishnu must turn to him for a chakra, a mighty weapon which he desperately needs to break a demon power. The images of gods and goddesses which crowd the pillars and walls of Madurai's temples have yielded happiness, helped communion, and for some lighted the path to ultimate truth. And so it has been through the ages. The temple is another world, as manifold as its gopurams, a rapture of forms, a link between eternity and time, a restless, never-ending quest holding the promise of repose.